Well, today I wanted to talk about something that has recently changed everything for me, really, for my business, for my family, for myself, and that was moving abroad. If you don't know, I have recently relocated from the US to Portugal, and I kind of want to tell you why. Um, and then let me know if you want to tell me to tell you how. So, if you don't know me, I'm Yaminah Childress. I'm a CEO, mom of four, founder of multiple businesses, and like I said, a recent global citizen. And this is Beyond the Bio, Unfiltered with moi, Yaminah. Um, so to be honest, it wasn't just one reason why I moved to Portugal, right? It was kind of a perfect storm of um, me wanting to do something different and live in a different place. I love traveling. I spent several years just exploring different cities, different states, different countries, different continents. I wanted the freedom to do that. I wanted the ability for my kids to be able to experience something different than just the US. I did it for personal growth, just because I think a lot of us want to do the challenging things, but we don't necessarily do them either because we're afraid or we just can't figure it out right. But I always dreamed of raising my kids in an environment that I felt was safe, but a place where they could see the world easily beyond the borders. I think as US citizens, we're always kind of programmed to look at the US as the world's. It is quite large with so many states, but I mean, it's just really only a small part of the actual world, right? And so I wanted them to be able to experience that. I knew that they could learn so many different things beyond what they saw in Georgia or in any state for that matter. Um, I didn't want them to look at the world as something that was like, ah, that's mesmerizing, right? Something that was not attainable, but more so that that was just an experience that they had and it was okay. And as a CEO, I wanted to finally build the business around my life. And not the other way around, right? I know a lot of times we are building businesses for the freedom, and then we end up working for the business way more than we should. And, then the business it starts to work us, right? And so I wanted to do it differently. Um, and then, finally, after years of travel, of course, getting your finances together, everything, things started making sense. You all know, if you're from the US, the cost of living in the US keeps rising. Even though I'm a homeowner, I still had the impact of increased mortgage rates because every single year my property taxes increased drastically. And the things, you just think about your everyday stuff like your food, your gas, all of the things that you buy regularly, everything just increased. And I'm just like, hey, if I'm going to pay that, I would rather pay it in a place where I felt safe, where I felt that I loved the culture and the community, where I could, eventually invest um, in the area and truly have a lifestyle where I could build wealth, invest into more businesses, but still give my family a beautiful life. The question I get a lot of times is, what was I running toward or from? I'm going to get the why, right? Here's the truth. It wasn't just one thing. Like I said, I was moving because I love seeing the world. Now in Portugal. So I'm in Europe, and we spent a couple of summers during our European summers, me and my daughters, and just getting to freely travel across Europe and even into Africa, because so many countries in Africa are really close to Europe. And so we were able to visit these places and see different things. And so I knew moving to Portugal or just in Europe in general that I would have a lot more direct access to greater parts of the world. Um, but then, I was truly tired of the US culture. Like, let's just be real. I don't want to normalize gun violence. When I was younger, I was a victim of gun violence, and thank God I didn't get shot or anything, but definitely was held up um, in a robbery when I was very young, maybe a young teenager. And then recently, my daughter was um, in a Tuskegee University had a active mass shooter, and she was there running for her life as an 18-year-old. And I mean, we don't want to raise families in that environment. I don't, and I definitely don't want to numb myself. I know a lot of people in the US are just numbing themselves to the violence and the chaos. Um, and that's not a culture I wanted to numb myself to. I didn't want my kids to get used to it. My youngest is a boy, the only boy in my house. So it's, us four ladies there, but then I have one son and he's 8. And I didn't want him to grow up as a Black man in America. I mean, just being truthful, we all know, we're honest how that can look for a Black man. And so the safety, the ability to move around freely were some of the reasons that I chose to say, you know what, this is time. And so if you think about it, where I was running from, I guess it would be from the chaos of the US, the safety issues, the continuous racism. And I know people are going to say, well, there's racism everywhere. And I think there can be biases and different racism in different places and displayed in a different way. We have not had that experience here. We've been here a short amount of time, but you don't have it's not normal to run for cover because it's a mass shooter. So there's that. Or our kindergarten class having to do mass shooter drills. And so there's no perfect place, but I think I'm thinking about the totality of it all, definitely a safer, more welcoming place. And so I made that decision. It was to give me a softer life, not a lazy one. I still run my multiple businesses from here and even have some challenges doing that. But truly a life that was rooted in peace, alignment, power. That's what moving abroad represents to me. Um, the next question I always get, and if you'll see, I'm kind of answering questions that I've received either during my planning process or when people actually found out that I did take the leap and relocated. And so I'll kind of answer them in kind of question Q&A formats. Um, Another question I get is, what has it been like so far? So here's the deal. Here's the real deal. It's been great. I live in a beautiful condo. My two young adult daughters, they live in the same building, but in their own condo, a few floors down. And so they're able to, and this is the first time they've both lived alone. One is 24 and one is 19. And so they're able to, navigate their lives as young adults. But we're still a very close family, and we're the only ones who live here. So we're, of course, still in the same area. It's just us five. And so that has been great, being able to see them experience their, first times moving. Um, it's funny because we chose to move to a country that is not natively English speaking. So um, with that, there are challenges. But the good thing is a lot of people in Portugal speak English, but they are Portuguese. And so their primary language is Portuguese. And so what we have to do as Americans speaking English is navigate their world, right? Not expect them to kind of been for us. And so that has been a thing. And I'm looking forward to learning Portuguese. My kids are studying it now. So that has been a thing. Like I said, some people speak English fluently and they'll just, turn on the English, and some people don't. And we just figure it out. We're Google translating and all of that stuff. So that has been a thing. And then I think when I think about my businesses, it was a challenge when we first were really heading here, right? We already had tickets and we had gone through the visa process and it was really happening, is that we had to close our local retail stores. And that was a thing. We had Yanni Beauty retail stores had been open for several years. Beautiful spaces, work with amazing indie beauty brands. And my daughter, she was the 19-year-old, was the esthetician there. So that was her work. The oldest daughter is my partner. So she ran, she operated the store. And so, first of all, having to leave that, we had to close down our store. So you can imagine, as a person who is a business owner, having to close anything in your business kind of hurts because it's like a baby. But the business didn't close. It just gave us opportunities to do what we wanted to do all along. And that was kind of expand the brand internationally. And that's still a work in progress, to be honest. We're still navigating different, tax situations. You need to have different VAT. Registrations here. You need to have different, different things in different countries. It's not the same as the US. Europe is a lot more strict when it comes to cosmetics. So, they test your formulations and things like that. But luckily, Yanni Beauty is a clean beauty brand. And so we didn't have any issues with having ingredients that weren't allowed. But, it's just a process, and it is taking longer than we expected. And so with that, the finances are, revenues are slowing a bit. And so we're trying to navigate that. But then also, with Yanni Beauty being able to, go online and kind of expand internationally, it has given me the opportunity to start to do things that I want to do again, because for the last few years, we have been knee deep into building the Yanni Beauty brand. And so now I can get back to doing my consulting. And so I'm a business and legal consultant for Integral Star Consulting. And I love doing that. Love helping entrepreneurs and small business owners build amazing businesses, help corporations scale their businesses and their teams. And so I have more time, right? I have more time to do that. I have time to do this. I am not, it's funny, if you're just seeing me here on YouTube, it'll be like she's always in front of the camera, but this is not normally me. I am very much so introverted, but I said this year I was going to kind of step outside of my comfort zone and do these things to kind of show up as the face of my brands and companies. And so I decided I was going to do this YouTube channel, and that's why I'm here. And so I have some time to do this. So that's been cool. And then I also recently launched Contractor AI, which is my legal tech company. And so I get to work on that. So, even though our local stores closed, it has opened up room and space and time for me to focus on other things that I love to do. I'm a builder, so I love to start businesses or help other people do it. And so that's what that's looked like in business so far. What it's looked like for my family, like I said, my kids, two older ones, they are navigating their lives and getting to do all of the things that they want to do on their own time and not and not have younger siblings just kind of, if you're a 24-year-old and 19-year-old, you have an 8-year-old little brother, you can kind of imagine that they're glad that they can have a moment away, even though the oldest is funny, the 24-year-old and the 8-year-old are like BFFs. um, but watching them be able to flourish, and then the two younger ones, watching them be able to just go outside um alone. I honestly would not have done this in Atlanta. When my 8-year-old went outside, he went right in front of the house. That's it. That was it, because it was just not, you didn't have a sense of safety. And I lived in a what they consider a nice neighborhood, but just the culture of things happening in general, it was not a place that I would let him just go out and be. But the teenager, she's 15, and the 8-year-old, they go outside, they go to the park. We live like right over a beautiful park, and they go outside and they're out there at night, and I feel perfectly safe with them doing that. They have not had any issues with people. And so that's amazing. Before I came here, I sold my car. So we pretty much sold everything, right? We pretty much sold everything to start over. And in my houses there is also now on sale. And so selling my car, I didn't come here and immediately buy a car. And so I still just take Ubers, or I told the realtor when I came here, when I was looking for a place, that it needed to be very walkable, because where I'm from, um, outside of Atlanta, you need a car. If you know anything about just Atlanta area in general, most every place you need, especially on the outskirts, you need a car. And so I really wanted to be in a place where I could just walk around. And so I get to, there's stores 10 minutes away. There's a beach about 20-ish minutes away. We walk to that. The park is right downstairs. I mean, in so many different places, just a beautiful neighborhood and a community. And so I get to walk, other places, like I said, I just might Uber, get a car to drive us there. But so that has been the difference with drive and and if to be honest, having to live in a place where you drive all the time, it's kind of been a breath of fresh air to live in a walkable community, because I equally get tired of driving every day. So that's been cool. Um, so yeah, I think that's what it's looked like so far. We're just a little under 2 months living here. Um, and if you ask me, was it worth it? I mean, it took a lot of time to get here, a lot of money, a lot of navigating businesses, and a lot of navigating things. But if you ask me if it's been worth it, I would say 1,000 times yes. Absolutely, absolutely worth it. I feel like my kids are going to thrive here. My businesses are going to expand in a way that I never expected. Um, I feel more clear, I feel more centered, um, and I feel more connected to all of the things that I want to do. Um, and I haven't felt this way in a lot of years, even though, I'm always very mindful, always a genuinely happy person. But I think, sometimes you live in the US and you always see, this happening or this happening. I think a lot of us, especially if you're a Black American, live in a trauma response a lot of times. And so I feel at peace. This move, it didn't just change my zip code. It really just changed, I think, the trajectory of where I'll be in the next 5 to 10 years, where my businesses will be as well, and where how my children are thriving. I thrive, and I can't wait to see that. So I'm gonna keep this video kind of short. I just wanted to answer those questions because those are some things that people ask me. And again, if you want to hear more about my travel, if you want to hear the steps I took to maybe do the visa or find a place, or anything like that, moving abroad, even if you're not thinking about moving to Portugal, but just kind of want a general idea of what that looks like, let me know and I'll create more videos to specifically talk about, moving abroad and help you out there. So before we go, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to comment, let me know if you would ever move abroad. Like if money wasn't an issue, if your job wasn't an issue, if there were no barriers, would you move abroad? What would your dream life and space look like? And like, what would you do? I really want to know. I'm always interested to see if people think about moving abroad and just feel like they can't, or is this something just like, no, I would never. I love where I'm at, which is fine. Like we're all loving and living our own lives, right? I'm just very curious to see who's interested in packing up. And you don't even have to be from the US. Maybe you're living in another country and you're packing up and moving somewhere else. I just want to know. So anyway, thanks for being here. This is just the beginning of this travel journey. And again, let me know so I can create more videos to help you out. Be sure to watch my other videos in the Unfiltered series and be sure to like and subscribe because I am really wanting to build a community around just us being parents and CEOs and travelers and really just having authentic conversations. So if that's your jam, if that's your jam, make sure that you stay connected with me and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.